Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, guys.
How you going? How is everyone?
Very well, thank you. And how are you?
Me? Yeah. I'm good. I feel like I would just want to introduce this and say today we're going to do a mini bonus podcast all about the structure of the series, which I reckon you've watched now. You've watched a few.
Yeah.
We are recording these, doing a bit of a bank, completely out of order. So this is somewhere in the middle, but this is actually, it's a little bit like Fast and the Furious. So even though this is Fast and the Furious 7, it's actually before Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The way it's most like Fast and the Furious is that Paul Walker is dead.
So here we are, and we're going to just chat about the structure of the episodes, which you've presumably seen. This was something Mark was really passionate to talk about.
No, it wasn't.
You said, I was like, I'd really like to talk about I'd love to do everyone's favorite characters. I was like, Man Beast, Frogman, and Mark was like, no, I want to talk about the structure of the episodes. I'm just playing.
We're just playing. We love to play. Because I think what's very interesting, or what has been a bit of a journey for us in our 8 years together, 9 years together. How long has it been? 10 years together, 15 years together making comedy, 20 years. We've been doing this for 25 years. In that time,
you hadn't when you started the sentence.
Gee whiz, I know I'm waffling on a bit, aren't I?
Just be more concise.
Okay, sorry.
Just decide the time, stick to it. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Certainty is key here. We've been working together for 8 years, and we're so excited about the process that we've discovered. See, easy. And if it's easy, 9, done. If it's 7, who's gonna call us out on that, Mark?
Probably the super fans.
Yeah, the people listening to this podcast definitely.
Absolutely.
They've got a tea towel at home that says when we were established.
It's true.
On it.
It says 2011, which isn't, it's technically true, but not really.
We were fucking in 2011, but we weren't official.
We weren't
official till 2012.
Yeah, we didn't go steady until that time. So we've made a couple of different pilots in the past, one of which most people have seen, or a lot of people have seen, another which has never seen the light of day. And the origins of this show in some ways are very heavily affected, I would say, by those other two pilots. Would you both agree or disagree with my statement?
Okay, so for me, it's an agree. 100%. We've learnt our lessons. We grew. We learned. We did one pilot, swung the other way, went too far, and then learnt our lessons by the third. So for me, it's an agree. But Broden looks a little doubtful.
He's umming and ahhing. I hear a lot of
a lot of these like through the teeth inhales.
Through the teeth inhales. That's what that is, not an exhale. He's thinking.
There's a lot of that.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Why?
So you do agree?
You do agree? Yeah.
For all of the reasons stated, or
I think they're pretty clear. I think it's pretty unanimous.
Okay, it's strange that the way you were acting was like you were going to say you disagree.
Yeah, I'm just saying. The script will read yes.
The script will read yes. The transcript.
Whenever I say yes, it means yes, but I'm gonna do it with a no every time.
Right. The action is so no.
If you looked at the transcript, Brode's agreeing, but nothing, in no way positive. All right.
So let's talk about. I think it would be good to go back and talk about structurally what our first attempt to turn our YouTube stuff into TV was.
Yeah, I'd love that.
And then what our second attempt was, and then sort of how we landed on our third one, which was finally And
Can
thank
we go
God
via the
successful.
live shows, Mark?
If we need to dip into the live shows,
I think we need to dip our toes in the Glenridge Secondary College live performance.
Oh, absolutely. But that comes a little later in the story.
Yeah, it's in between Pilot 2 and Series 1.
Well, yeah, because I guess 99 would also come up in that in some ways.
The structure.
Yeah, in terms of the setting.
I'm excited to hear this thesis.
One locale, the one locale, which I guess is
huge.
The DNA of Glenridge, I would say, is probably in '99 in some ways. But basically, our first pilot that we did for the ABC, we were very nervous about. We really wanted to impress. At the time, none of us were taking any money from Aunty Donna, and very much our approach.
Let's not all say that unanimously. I was.
Oh, you were siphoning.
Broden was siphoning. He was like that Italian cardinal that was siphoning money out of the Vatican.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, and that would be great to talk about in maybe a therapy session or something, because that's pretty full on. New to me.
I've been holding that to myself for years now.
For years.
It feels good to get.
How much did you siphon from the company, Broden?
Not much, somewhere between $825,000 and $836,000.
Okay, that would have been helpful. That's a lot of money, especially at the time.
Even now, that's a huge amount. We don't make near, and my God,
we were performing in a gutted out kitchen.
If that siphoned away money was profit, and it was split amongst us, we would make just quadruple, quintuple.
Imagine where we'd be.
We'd be making that's so much money.
It makes sense that you have 4 properties now. I always thought that was Cole's money.
Sorry.
He's sorry.
All right.
I'm going to say.
And as hard as that is, I forgive you.
Yeah, I forgive you too. It's very easy to forgive. Doesn't bother me. But that first pilot, there was a lot at stake, and we wanted to. I guess the advice we kept being given was that. I was
just going to say, ironically, though, with the catering, there was steak in our new series, but the catering of our first pilot was all sandwiches from a local bakery.
No, there was that day where we got meatballs. No, we had Earl.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was
the first one, and there was hot food.
I am diverging.
Why is it?
I remember.
You guys remember nothing.
The reason I remember
the catering.
I'll tell you why I remember that, cunt. I'll tell you why I remember that. And I have a terrible memory and I do not remember anything. The reason I remember the catering on the first pilot shoot was I was like, this is amazing. And the hot food options were so great. And then when we did 1999, where we had more money and we got catering from the same company, there was no hot food options. And I remember being so fucking perplexed by that.
And mad. You were mad.
I was mad. I was like, this is horse shit that we have to eat fucking sandwiches every day. When we did the pilot for half the money, we had hot food options. What is the excuse? What is the excuse?
I remember it for 2 reasons.
Genuinely.
I was remembering the food of the second pilot where we ate sandwiches in the car park. I just have a very vivid memory of like day 5 of eating sandwiches, and it was in a car park, and there were no jokes in the episode, so that was tough.
That shit.
But then when Mark reminded me of Earl, the reason why I remember Earl is it's the first of many, 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 many times I've seen a producer see the spread of food, go, this is not enough food. And rather than just go, you know what, I didn't buy enough food, angrily call the caterer and then like get some more food from like another place. I remember that happened in our Perth ad. It's happened elsewhere as well, where they go, this is not enough food. And then it's like, that's fine. Like they probably are thinking, they're like, oh. And then they call, and then they're mad, and then they get chippies for everyone. And that pattern has happened so many times in my life, and I remember that happened on the pilot shoot.
That's very I am obsessed with catering. And so, the catering on the Netflix show was, I don't know if you boys remember, but my experience of the catering on the Netflix show was like...
I could talk through this.
You can talk through this?
Let's make this the whole talking.
Yeah, fuck it.
We'll get to structure on another one.
We will get to structure.
The breakfast, you show up at 6 a.m, 7 a.m, and this is real, right? It's in America, right?
Yeah.
Not only was they're just a constant. You might have heard of craft services, which is where there's donuts and coffee and like Doritos and sliced fruit and nuts. That's always being stocked 24/7. You can always go there.
And which I didn't know until about halfway through the shoot, a separate company.
Yeah, it's different. 2 different people giving you food, right? So there's that, but when you show up at 6 a.m, breakfast is on, right? And there's like 10 Bain Maries, right? And there was one with just waffles in it, one with just streaky bacon, one with potato hash, one with scrambled eggs, one with
sausage, American style,
sausage,
like McDonald's style sausage, the circle sausage.
Yeah,
I feel like does anyone else remember any other things? Oatmeal. There was oatmeal.
Yeah, there was oatmeal, and there was
Sometimes
like
they mix it up.
There was turkey sausage as well.
Right.
Sometimes.
So there was that, right? And then separately outside, this was like a hack. You had to kind of learn, like a little life hack.
Yeah.
There was a man outside in the car park who his job was just to stand over a hot plate. And if you walked up to him and said, make me an omelette or make me a breakfast quesadilla, he just did it. And he's like, what you want on it? And he'd make it for you in front of you.
And here's an extra hack, Broden, if I can just jump on here. If you said, make me an omelette, please, he'd put a little bit of love in it.
He would.
Yeah. So every day you had the choice of either just having a little, craft services, you had the waffles and the fucking everything, or you had a man just making you, it was like being in a nice hotel.
Yeah, yeah. Because there was also the big bowl of like cereals, like the mini cereals that you could have.
I never even fucked with that.
There was some mornings where I fucked around with some cereal just to get a bit of sugar in me early on. My experience of it, like when I walked in on that first day, I was so wide-eyed and giddy and like just so thankful, and just because food is just such a big thing to me, especially with my experiences with my gut. And like what food, and being given food, I think is just one of the greatest gifts. When you don't have to pay for food, it truly it means so much to me. It also makes my brain go crazy, and I eat a lot more than I ever should, and I can make myself sick, right? But my experience of it was like being a kid who'd grown up in the country their whole life. And let's say Ballarat, somewhere like Ballarat. Ballarat is considered a city, and it has a population of what's the population of Ballarat?
3 million.
Like 20 million.
20 million people, right?
No, 90,000.
90,000.
Hong Kong, London, Ballarat.
It's like 90,000 people, but it's considered a city. They call it the city of Ballarat, right? And it's like, imagine growing up country and then visiting Ballarat, and you're like, oh, this is what a city is like. And then you get a little bit older, and then you go to Melbourne, and you're like, oh, this is a city, right? Or even bigger than that, you go to Tokyo or you go to London, and you're like, oh, this is a city. I thought I'd seen a city before. This is a city. That's how I felt with the catering.
The best way to explain that analogy is like, imagine you're a filmmaker and you're doing small budget things and you have a small catering, and then you're like, well, this is what catering is.
This is what catering is.
A high budget Australian thing. And you're like, this is what catering is. And then
that's the Melbourne.
Yeah. And then you go to America and you do there's like this huge catering. You're like, this is catering.
That's a much better analogy.
So
that's a clearer analogy, I think.
If you're struggling with Broden's analogy, what this basically is when he's saying, when you're a small filmmaker, that's sort of like stepping from independent theatre into an independent film world where there's sandwiches and stuff. And that's kind of like someone from the country moving to Ballarat, and they go, wow, this is sort of it. And then when they go from Ballarat to the city, that's kind of moving from independent to Australian. And they're like, this is a city. And then imagine going to somewhere like Tokyo or London or New York. That's probably what I would say. And I don't want to speak for you, Broden, but just
I think that's fair. I think they've got the point now. I want to go to lunch. Now, so lunch is
Can I say one thing on breakfast? I'm so sorry. I don't eat eggs, or I don't particularly. I'll eat eggs if they're there, but I don't care for eggs. So I never went out to the omelette station. And then about halfway through, someone said to me, "You know that he does quesadillas?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And then he was like, "He does breakfast quesadillas."
And
I was like, "But they have eggs, don't they?" And they were like, "No, you don't have to do eggs
if you don't want."
and they would go into
Custom.
the bain-maries and chop up anything in the bain-marie and put it in their quesadilla. So you could say, I'll have a cheesy, vegetable-y quesadilla and chuck some of that bacon in there, and they would, and it was great.
What was your both of you? What was your go-to breakfast?
Oh, can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
I rang Zach on the weekend, and he thought that something awful had happened because I haven't called Zach on the weekend in
We
25
keep our
years. And he goes, hey, that was real funny. I knew it was going to freak him out. And he was like, hi, hello. I was like, hey, man, how you going? He's like, good. And I was like, just very quickly, sorry. I'm sorry to call you on the weekend. Do you remember how the man made the quesadillas? And then making a weekend breakfast quesadilla, and then he told me, and he was like, "Thank you for that." I thought the show would.
I genuinely was like, I thought the show had been pulled. I thought Broden was like, because it was an early morning weekend call with no message. It was just like, even for our generation, that's a funny thing to do. And he called me, and I was just getting ready for like, I'm just calling around to let you know, Netflix, even though they've made the show, they were just like, they don't want to release it.
They don't want to make it anymore.
And then instead he was like, how do you put the tortilla in the pan?
Yes,
and
bro.
the answer was yes, you do.
The answer
and
is yes,
slow
absolutely.
and slow for a beginner was my partner's advice, and I thought that was some great advice.
Yeah.
Because then you're not burning things.
Yeah.
Absolutely a great story, Broden. We loved those quesadillas. But tell us about lunch.
Yeah, let's talk lunch.
Lunch was good. It was just like the same situation, but for lunch, lots of different proteins, like your chickens, your salmons. There was a bunch of different vegetables cooked really well. The main thing on the last day, they had lobster.
They had lobster, which was fucking delicious. Surprisingly delicious, right?
And Ellen DeGeneres sent a PA to tell us to stop cooking lobster because she could smell it from her office.
That's not true.
Whose story is
but
that?
it wouldn't surprise me if that happened.
Oh,
that's just one of the stories that were in BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
It's not true. We were on location.
Sitting next to Weird Al Yankovic eating lobster, talking about, I had this experience eating lunch on the last day, which was technically dinner because it was a night shoot. And Weird Al Yankovic was there. I think this was the last day. Maybe I'm wrong. But we're sitting there talking, and I was telling him about how I was going to see Mr. Bungle over the over February, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, that's Mike Patton." And I was like, "Yeah." And then everyone else started talking because he's a very sweet, very quiet man. And then after about 5 minutes, he just shows me his phone, and it's a picture of him and Mike Patton from the 90s with their arms around each other. I was like, this is fucking weird, man. Like, it's my childhood hero and my other childhood hero. And he just showed me a fucking photo of them together.
Funny what good catering can do.
It's what good catering can do.
It's so funny because you were having that experience and I was like having steak and lobster at the same time going, this works really well.
Doing a surf and turf,
And I have as fond of a memory of that, of the catering surf and turf, as you do your childhood hero showing you a photo of him hanging out with your teenage hero.
So I'm pretty sure it was the last day because I remember asking Al if he was going to get a lobster and him telling me he was vegetarian. And that's how I know Weird Al Yankovic was vegetarian. My
great
favorite.
Catering.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, great catering. That's all I wanted to say.
Just my favorite lunch. I still remember the first day we got it was like the Bain Marie would have a giant thing of like Caesar salad. There'd be like a big Caesar salad that you could do, and then all these dressings and stuff. And there'd always be some sort of like either pasta or rice. And there was one day where they had this like fragrant rice. It was like a mix of a couple of different types of rice, and it was just so tasty on its own. And then they had a big Bain Marie of shrimp or prawns, as we call them.
I remember that day, yeah.
That day was a revelation for me. That was like loading up on that rice and that shrimp, and then like the scalloped potatoes. I was in fucking heaven. And every time they had the shrimp, I would just freak out. And the catering people knew. They came to know how much I love the shrimp. And whenever there was shrimp, they'd give me a little look when I'd walk into the catering room, and I'd be like, there's shrimp today.
You know what's fucked as well? Do you know what's fucked?
Yeah.
Is like how occasionally hear producers saying to people, "Sorry, the catering's so simple. It's a small budget shoot."
Yeah.
And that's
What's happening?
what do we
happening
not
up the
know
top?
about?
Yeah. What is the next? I can't believe there's a level up. But they did. Our producers often apologize to us about like that the catering was a bit shit, which blew my mind. But there's something else, boys. There's something very important we're forgetting about. There's something very, very important that we're forgetting about. I can't believe I'm the one to have to bring this up.
Can I say, Mark,
Hot dogs?
If you're going to bring up
Close, yes.
if you're going to bring up hot dogs, there's also Thanksgiving I want to talk about. For me, what this opens up is that this theme, this topic, needs a part 2. I don't think we're going to get to everything we need to get to in 20 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen. When you say hot dog, that makes me think of fries. It makes me think of Thanksgiving.
People want to hear 2 things on just food we ate.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. I don't know if they do. I just wanted to bring up one last thing.
Okay, you bring it up, but I really want to talk about the Thanksgiving as well. So, you know.
I just wanted to talk about the hot snacks.
Yeah, the hot snacks were great.
So every day at some point, craft services, not the catering, craft services would do a hot snack. Now, this included mini hot dogs and fries. This included popcorn shrimp. Now, not only were there, and sometimes it would be like, what else was there?
Hot dogs.
The popcorn shrimp.
The little burgers, maybe.
They did the little Mexican hot dogs, like the bacon wrapped hot dogs.
Fresh corn chips and quesadillas.
Oh my God, the fresh corn chips and then the mini quesadillas. Right? But the best thing about the hot snacks wasn't so much the hot snacks, but was when the rumor of the hot snacks would start to percolate. And you'd be shooting a scene and then you'd call cut and you'd look over and Jonathan, the first AD, would be whispering to someone, to Lindsay, let's say, and you'd be like, what's going on there? And then someone would come and then people would be whispering and then come up and then someone would whisper in your ear and they'd be like, there's popcorn shrimp today.
And I think the other thing
that's
really wonderful about the hot snacks, I just want to say, Mark, is because it was catered by a separate company, there was no collusion. There was no, well, we're doing a heavy lunch, so let's do a light snack. It was heavy lunch, heavy snack.
Oh, always.
Those snacks were meals unto themselves. You didn't have to have dinner. I know for one thing that the tearing down the posters sketch was shot over 3 different periods because there was one on set. And then we were on set when we ran. That was shot on day 1, and then we'd tear down the poster. And then, like close to the last day on location, was where it started. And my favorite thing about tearing down the posters is because over the 3 weeks of the shoot, I had that catering. You can actually see I have a little tummy when I get upset. When Mark or Broden teases me, I get upset. I run inside, and my little tummy is smaller because we shot out of order that particular sketch. And what a joy that is to see.
And that was how we structured the show.
That's the story of how we came to the structure.
A whole Bain Marie of stuffing on Thanksgiving Day.
That's right. That was a whole Bain Marie of stuffing, and it was fucking delicious.
That was how we structured an episode. Thanks to Glen Ridge Secondary College.
Absolutely,
I love
amazing.
the filter coffee. Just a big thing of filter coffee all the time. I love that.
Morning.
There was.
I used to get to work and
the sodas as well. Sorry, keep going.
I would get to work. I would have a sausage. I would have
just fade out on this one, Tom.
Sausage, fade out. I would have a turkey sausage, some fruit, and a black coffee, which was, not really the way I eat, but there's something very LA about something
we're
a little
very hard.
Absolutely.
A little bit keto.
And just the giant fridge full of like your iced teas and your fucking all the different types of milks and shit, the coffee things and the Dr. Peppers. I'd have a Dr. Pepper every day. Oh my God. Absolutely incredible.